Players upon the board, the game of life. No time limits, limited rules, but many players. How will you play the game? We walk past the older players that have had successes and failures within the game. See their eyes fogged as they think back to their moments and experiences. More experience than we could ever hope for, but still, the new players rarely listen to the older players, thinking that they will be different. The things that happen to them won't happen to me, but they do. Journeying, asking what is our purpose. We cycle around the years like passing start on a Monopoly board. Each pass in a new year, new possibilities, a game of chance. Who knows where you will land, what you will do and how you will do. Chance affecting you greatly. You could end up winning the lottery or end up in jail. Many circumstances outside your control, so we tread carefully, attempting to make the right moves, the right choices. But what are the right choices? Is this a dream, the ultimate dream? We do not know. The one separates into many, the game of forgetfulness and remembering begin. In regards to the dream, you ask, well, who's dreaming the dream? Who's driving the bus? Well, every night you dream, and within your mind, inside your head, a whole world is created. A whole universe, hundreds, thousands, if not millions of people seemingly, buildings, nature, furniture, cars, everything. Each night the set comes out of nothing. And just like that, from nothing comes everything. If you ask the character in your dream, are they in your dream, or tell them they are in your dream, what do you think they would say? Regardless of being in a dream, they would call you crazy. Some call it a simulation, an electromagnetic universe, in which everything is one, a matrix of such. Many names, many explanations, but how to explain the impossible? What if everything and everyone was God? And what if this God we talk about was actually you? And in the beginning, alone as one, created more, split himself into all, called the Big Bang by scientists, with each part being self-aware of itself, being able to spectate and experience from all perspectives. Human, plant, animal, celestial. In essence, everyone's true self is a manifestation of God, energy, love, whatever you may call it, ultimately creating the ultimate game of hide and seek. When people talk about the purpose in life, most of the time they're referring to this, finding what has been hidden. It's almost like finding the hidden rooms in an old Mario game. The objective of the game isn't to find these rooms, but if you manage to, it's a bonus, and you may receive gifts. In real life, these are cities of superpowers. And as we are all the gods, it's up to us to create any change. It is we that create history. Each and every one of us, and every action we take, like the spider web, makes a difference and adds to the whole equation. If we want to change anything, it must be up to us, not any outside force from ourselves. In terms of simulation theory, this is the same in essence. Everyone is made of the same substance, the same thing. Unaware, in the simulation or computer theory, we would all be energy or bits of information or data travelling around the system. And this isn't any different from that idea. In essence, everyone would be a small part of the whole, a version of the whole, acting independently, but also the whole. Just like how a program on a computer is independent, all applications on a computer system seem this way. Microsoft Word is different and independent to the internet, and the internet different and independent to the Netflix application, but they all reside on the same system and are within this system, seemingly independent, but we all know they are part of the whole computer. The system computer in this case is like the universe or the world in which all of applications, or in our case things, exist within this system. People talk about escaping the system, but how can data or a computer program escape a system? How would it exist outside of its domain? It's like Facebook Messenger trying to walk out of your phone or computer. It can't happen. How would a program exist in our world outside of its own? The only way it could exist is in terms of a concept idea, the way it did once exist in our realm. The same can be said about a cartoon character coming outside of the TV. How could this be logically possible? If a cartoon universe does exist, it would exist in its own domain, which, let me tell you, is possible. Many realms or domains can exist in one. They won't be apparent to everyone or the majority, but they are vibrational frequencies, and the Earth realm has its own, the one we have access to. This may be seen as different worlds, levels or realms within a game or computer program. In a game, for example, you may have access to level 1 or world 1. There's no way to access the other levels unless you complete the first one and progress upwards. Again, comparing to a computer, let's say Microsoft Windows is the universe. Windows is the system. Within Windows are many other platforms, and these would be realms or dimensions. Progression through levels in terms of this world is similar to a computer game but different. We advance through levels or stages to progress, but it is not what you think. There's no goal or objective to hit, nothing you must do but simply live, and by living you are progressing in a natural way. Just like a flower progresses through the stages of flowering and decay, this should be seen as levels. For what else can a flower do besides follow this path? And just because decaying is apparent and happening, how do we know it's not part of the next level? Like a caterpillar decaying to turn into a butterfly. Dreams of being immortal, superpowers and escaping the Matrix are all dreams of the ego who is playing the game. You, your true self, which is all, the creator, doesn't desire anything. The story that is being played out is the only story that there can be. His story. But the character in the game has desires and ideas. Of course Mario wants to escape the game. Mario doesn't know he's you. Enlightenment or waking up is the realisation of this fact. You realise you are a god, playing a character in life, and everyone is the same. You are no different to anyone. Some people wake up and feel that they are God, and everyone else is not, and this was the case in Wacko. But when the full awakening occurs, you realise there's nothing else to do but play the game. You can't escape the game of life. There is no objective or any goal, simply just to live. So you find people often awaken, often live a happy, positive life, and this is simply because they accept what is. They see themselves for what they are, they see life for what it is. It's outside of their control, but this isn't necessarily scary because they trust the controller. They see the controller as themselves, which most people don't. But how can you have faith but question everything? But even higher than that, there is no controller, no man or person as such. It feels like the best way to explain, but impossible again, is it's all working on its own, like a super intelligent machine. We could ask who's driving the machine, who's driving the bus, who's dreaming the dream. Ultimately, no one. And what is meant when people talk about no one? No one's dreaming the dream, but at the same time they talk about people being a god, people being everything. What no one refers to is the force that you are, is no thing, nothing in particular. It has no name, it is all. So ultimately it is no one. There is no one within you. You are no one. Your highest self is no one, but by saying it is no one or no thing, it is all things. It has no name. It has no age. It is unborn, but all-knowing. And that is the essence of what no one or nothing is, and from no thing comes everything. But in terms of choices that can be taken in the game, what can be done? If we look at games, say Mario World, Mario had mushrooms he could eat, and by eating these mushrooms gave him particular powers. Some he grew in size, some essentially gained an extra life. If we compare these to psychedelics, psychedelic mushrooms and other substances, we know the qualities of these mushrooms and what they can do. Each variation and type of mushroom gives a different effect, and just like in Mario, it's the same. There's different types of mushrooms to give you different powers. But taking mushrooms seem to bring us back to nature in some way we have disconnected from. We are reminded when taking mushrooms that everything is one, and we fall back in love with nature. We see life has no real problems, but also life is a lot deeper than we could ever understand. Some people actually start seeing the world pixelated or brighter when on mushrooms. Life loses its seriousness and becomes more of a game, the game of life. The mushrooms are an item in this world that can be used to connect back to nature, to help connect to the higher self, and also potentially gift abilities. But as I've said, this doesn't have to be done. All that has to be done is what you are doing now. One day things will change, and books such as the Bible talk about one man changing the world, and this will be the case, but it's not necessarily us. We want it to be us. We want to be important, and just because we aren't a Jesus-like being, it doesn't mean you're not important. As I say, everything is one, and as one it moves like a spider's web. One small change here or there will send a ripple across the whole web. No matter how little or small of an action, it will make an impact. So in essence, every step you take is making a difference. What people fail to understand is everyone is just important as everyone. and everyone's here for a particular reason and role. The enlightened person's reason and role was to become enlightened. The guru's reason and role was to become a guru. Same as the priest's role was to become a priest, the police officer's role to become a police officer, and the water carrier's role to become a water carrier. The king to be a king and the beggar to be a beggar. We all play roles, and in society they seem to have a hierarchy structure which some roles are better than others, more desired upon. But ultimately they're all just roles. Only we decide which roles are better than others, but ultimately we are all but cogs on a machine, all doing different parts within that machine. No part being more important than any other part, whether it's the engine or a cog, as all parts need to be present for the machine itself to work functionally. Remember, there are variations to the mushrooms in Mario. Some give you extra lives, some poison you, some allow you to fly, some make you more agile. And these have similar qualities to the mushrooms that we can take. Besides the mushrooms in the game, you have things such as flowers and leaves that you can collect for powers. Again, they are all part of nature, and we all know the healing qualities of flower and leaves throughout the world that give different types of effects and abilities. And again, they are used in the game. Another item is a star, and the star increases speed, agility, and makes you invincible. For me, this could represent a number of things, but for me represents the perfected man. A perfected man, due to knowing what life is, becomes immortal. Before, I said immortality is a dream of the ego, and it is. But when man no longer desires it and lets it go, realization of what is takes place. They are simply immortal due to not being held back by the body any longer. In essence, this is the caterpillar changing into the butterfly. And it seems like a paradox, and it is. You could never be immortal, but you already are. Only when you see you are, you become it. And all this reminds me of Peter Pan. It's when the children forget themselves, they forget Neverland, and what was, they forget. And I recently watched the film Baby Geniuses, a film from the 90s, where children are geniuses and know the secrets of the universe up until the age of around 2 or 3, when they learn to talk. Their mind gets wiped. We are not learning anything new or achieving anything, rather re-remembering what we once were, what we once knew. The story of the actor that plays King Lear and forgets himself playing King Lear, ultimately becoming King Lear, forgetting he was John Doe, but later remembers he is John playing the character of the king on stage. He immersed himself fully so much in the character he forgot himself. The circuit of life to the game Mario Kart. If we imagine life as a race course, we all start in different positions on the grid. This represents people born before or after people, just like your parents were born before you. They are placed before or after people on the grid, depending on where they were born. And the race, which is life, objectively, say in terms of the world and universe, started at the same time. This is represented by the gun being shot, and for me is a representation of the explosion of time. If I use the term the Big Bang, people have a picture, and I say this in spite of not necessarily believing in a Big Bang, but it's the best way to describe the indescribable. And we all race through life, and the aim is to finish the race. An actual race is also aimed at finishing in first place, first to get over the finish line. But let's say the finish line was death. We're racing around the track, around life, towards the end, towards the finish line, which is death. Some people finish the race before others, and they wait on the sidelines for the others to finish. First place could have started in a higher position on the grid than, say, last place, and this could be represented by first place being a grandparent and last place being you. Your grandparents will likely finish the race before you, as they started ahead of you, but you will join them after when you've raced. The cars from the past have already raced their race, finished their lap of the circuit, and we're all fighting to finish first, which would be a return to the start, a return home, not knowing that the start is also the end, and the objective of the race was simply to finish the race, nothing else. But we race round, bumping into others to try and take over to get into a better position. Some of us crash and burn, some of us take it slow and steady, enjoying the experience and the views, what life has to offer, or heading to the same destination unknowingly, the finish line, the end. And surely if we knew what we were racing towards, we wouldn't choose some of the actions that we do towards others, knowing that we're racing towards the finish line, which is ultimately the end of this lifetime. But still, no matter what choice we take, whether we wish to race around the track in a record's time, bump into others and create chaos, or take it nice and steady, it is all still but a ride of life. And we may choose to come back and re-enter the race, and do it different the next time.